Please stand for the playing of the national anthem.
O land of beauty, our country where peace abounds, thy children stand free on the strength of will and love, with good in all schools, Saint Kitts and England. A nation bound together with a common destiny. As stalwarts we stand for justice and liberty, with wisdom and truth. We will serve and honor thee. No sword nor spear can conquer, for God will sure defend. His blessing shall forever to posterity extend.
Please remain standing as we invite Pastor Clive Saunders to lead us in prayer.
Good morning, all. Let us pray. Creator God, we praise you this morning for who you are, for what you have done, and for what you will continue to do in our leaders and in our nation. We come before you with gratitude and humility, asking you for a blessing over this press conference and over our nation. Grant our leaders wisdom to guide decisions, steady their hearts, and strengthen their minds during these challenging times. Give our leaders the patience to address any challenges that may arise. May truth cut through deception, and may this press conference serve to inform and bring peace rather than conflict. May your blessings be upon their efforts, and may they lead with integrity and purpose. Strengthen their resolve to create a conference that inspires, educates, and fosters positive change. We ask all these things in your name, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Thank you, Pastor Saunders. Please be seated. Honorable Dr. Terrance Drew, Prime Minister and Minister of Finance, National Security, Citizenship and Immigration, Health and Human Resource Management and Social Security. Honorable Dr. Jeffrey Hanley, Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Education, Youth, Social Development, Gender Affairs, Aging and Disability. Honorable Garth Wilkin, Attorney General and Minister of Justice and Legal Affairs. The Right Honorable Dr. Denzel Douglas, Senior Minister, Minister of Foreign Affairs, Economic Development, International Trade, Investment, Industry and Commerce. Honorable Conway Maynard, Minister of Public Infrastructure and Utilities, Transport, Information, Communication and Technology and Post. Honorable Marsha Henderson, Minister of Tourism, Civil Aviation, International Transport, Employment and Labor and Urban Development. Honorable Joel Clark, Minister of Sustainable Development, Environment and Climate Action and Constituency Empowerment. Honorable Iselene Phillip, Minister with responsibility for youth, empowerment, social development, gender affairs, aging and disabilities. Members of the media, those online and in person, Mrs. Lanicia Collins-Williams, our sign language interpreter, and to all our viewers and listeners joining us across St. Nevis and throughout the diaspora, welcome. It is my pleasure to welcome you to this cabinet-wide press conference for the first quarter of 2026. Today's engagement reflects this administration's continued commitment to transparency, accountability, and open dialogue. It provides an opportunity not only to update the nation on the work being undertaken across government, but also to engage directly with members of the media on matters of national importance. Joining the Honorable Prime Minister today, as established by the protocol, are the members of the Federal Cabinet, each entrusted with critical portfolios and working collaboratively to advance the government's agenda for national development. We will move straight into our program for today, and at this time I would like to welcome the Honorable Prime Minister to deliver his opening remarks.
Thank you very much, Mr. Javan Liebert, Press Secretary. We want to continue to thank you for your tremendous work in making sure that this cabinet continues to get the word out. I want to thank my cabinet colleagues who are here with me this morning. Of course, we are complying with our pledge to come to you, our dear citizens and residents of St. Kitts and Nevis, on every 3 months, every quarter, to update you as to the workings of the government and give the press an opportunity to ask us openly whatever they may wish to ask. And so therefore I want to welcome all of you to this first press conference for 2026 as we come to the end of the first quarter. Over the past months, the first quarter of 2026, we have continued to make steady, measurable progress in improving the fundamentals of daily life of our people. Our investments, for example, in water infrastructure, including the expansion of desalination capacity, form part of a comprehensive plan to deliver more reliable access to water nationwide to our people. And of course, the minister with responsibility would go more in details. Needless to say that we have invested tens of millions of dollars into our water infrastructure for the delivery of water, as no nation can really be successful without access to reliable, potable water. Likewise, our ongoing road rehabilitation program is not only about improving the driving experience, it's about enhancing safety, enabling commerce, and strengthening connectivity across our communities. And again, we have invested well over $80 million to improve the road networks across St. Kitts and Nevis, and we continue to invest. These developments are not isolated efforts. They're part of a broader coordinated approach on the Sustainable Island State Agenda, which guides how we build, how we produce and consume energy, how we manage our resources, and how we invest in our people to secure a resilient and forward-looking future. At the end of the day, what we are seeking to do is to enhance the lives of our people. This is a people-centered government. Our people come first in all that we do. We have also invested significantly, as you can see, in our infrastructure when it comes to education. And our Minister of Education will go deeper into that as well. In our housing, we continue to build through St. Kitts and Nevis, and we'll be updated with that also. And basically, it can be seen that we are investing heavily in the infrastructure for the improvement of our people here in St. Kitts and Nevis. This year, we hosted the 50th meeting of the heads of government of CARICOM, a milestone that underscores the strength and importance of regional unity. At this time, we have expanded also our international footprint beyond traditional spaces, most recently through our participation in the Afro-Caribbean Investment Summit in Abuja, Nigeria, the second edition with a St. Kitts Nevis focus. It was held from March 23rd to 28th, 2026, and this engagement was deliberate, strategic, and results-driven. Among some of the outcomes, we witnessed the signing of a memorandum of understanding that will bring an international film production to St. Kitts and Nevis in June 2026, positioning our federation as a hub for the creative economy. this is a tangible outcome for our creatives to benefit. We also became the first country to formally engage a US 2 billion creative industries fund, opening access for our creatives to financing, training, and global opportunities. This again came out of that very recent trip to Nigeria. I think Grenada has now signed on to it. Equally significant was the historic passage of a historic passage of a United Nations resolution on March 25th, recognizing the transatlantic slave trade as one of the greatest crimes against humanity. A resolution that was led by the Republic of Ghana and proudly co-sponsored and supported by St. Kitts and Nevis. This moment represents not only historical acknowledgement, but a strengthening, of course, of the bridge between Africa and the Caribbean as we led on this at the United Nations together. Our engagement with Africa also marked a historic milestone in practical terms. For the first time, a charter flight originated directly from the Caribbean to the African continent, carrying a delegation of citizens and representatives to Abuja. This was a powerful symbol of reconnection, of possibility, and a bridge actively being rebuilt, a bridge that we are calling the transatlantic bridge to connect the Caribbean directly with Africa and with everything that can be positive of this reconnection. Importantly, this initiative was executed without burdening taxpayers, even though all who went on this trip from St. Kitts and Nevis are taxpayers, but I just wanted to point that out. Reflecting our commitment to innovation and responsible governance, while new pathways for movement, trade, and deeper collaboration between our regions, very important. That is why I took our people on this trip and enhanced it. But we were also joined by members from across the OECS. We had ministers from other countries across this OECS, and we also had the Director General of the OECS Authority. Last year, it was fully St. Kitts Nevis focused. This year, it was also St. Kitts Nevis focused with an expansion towards our regional brothers and sisters. And next year, we're going to expand it to an OECS focus so that we can expand it deeper into the African continent and have broader engagement, which would benefit all of us. This is a significantly new type of initiative as this seeks to open pathways for trade, investments in all sorts and all kinds, cultural exchanges, and so forth. This level of exposure is transformative. It allows our people to move beyond observation and into participation, positioning themselves and by extension our country with global networks of trade, investment, and innovation. Times have changed significantly, and we need to change as well. The strategies and approaches of the past, many of those strategies and approaches are not relevant today. We understand the direction of the geopolitics, and therefore we have to make sure that we are nimble, pragmatic, innovative, and that we stay ahead of the game. On the sideline of the summit, we also held a productive bilateral meeting with the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, His Excellency Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Once again, I was able to visit him at the presidential, the official residence for the president, and there we engage in a number of deep discussions, deepening the discussions that we would have had 2 years ago. So our discussions focus on strengthening cooperation in key areas such as trade, investment, education, and cultural exchange. Significantly, President, His Excellency Tinubu, indicated his intention to appoint a special envoy to St. Kitts and Nevis. A special envoy to St. Kitts and Nevis, whose responsibility will be to help oversee and ensure the effective implementation of the initiatives discussed. All of these initiatives discussed, a special envoy who would report to the president will be appointed by the president to make sure that these things that we discuss bear fruit. And so I want to thank the president for his strong support on our, I would say, gesture. Beyond that, our thrust to reconnect the Caribbean and Africa, but in tangible ways that would benefit all of our people. So that special envoy will be appointed in short order, and that would be his main responsibility. This represents a clear signal of commitment and a pathway to ensuring that our engagements translate into tangible outcomes for our people. Additionally, in recent days, we have also demonstrated our continued commitment to regional solidarity and humanitarian leadership. As the chair of CARICOM at the last heads-off meeting that was held here, we made a commitment that within a month, we would have a mechanism set in place to get humanitarian aid to Cuba. That meeting was at the end of February. This is at the end of March. We are well within the time, and I can say that we have already established the pathway or the route or the mechanism of how we will get that humanitarian help to Cuba with the help of the Mexican government. And so that has started. St. Kitts Nevis has committed US 500,000. We have delivered already the first 100,000 US dollars that was sent on to the CARICOM Secretariat in Guyana, and that would then be passed on through the mechanism to get our contribution out of Mexico to the people of Cuba. There are multiple things that you can choose from. One of the things we are highlighting for St. Kitts and Nevis is baby food, which we know is critically important. But we have a list and we are working through it. I want to thank the other countries that have contributed significantly as well. And in short order, CARICOM would update. They updated last week and they will update this week. But the mechanism is fully on the way to extend that humanitarian help to our brothers and sisters in Cuba. So all of these efforts point to a single reality. In today's world, opportunities must be pursued, negotiated, and secured. Nobody is going to bring the opportunity to you or to us and rest it on our lap. We have to be innovative. We have to be proactive. We have to establish relationship which would allow us to meet our objective. And that is why we are so aggressive in our diplomatic outreach. So the world is not always coming to us, as I mentioned. We have to make sure. If they don't come to us, we go to them. But notably, not just government officials, but ordinary people. The people of St. Kitts and Nevis can meet people in other countries, in other lands, and establish relationships which would allow us to create opportunities for all of us here in St. Kitts and Nevis. So the work of this government and this cabinet, each minister, of course, continues to advance initiatives within their portfolio, which they will speak about and you can ask about. But we do as a unified team. We work together. Anything that is accomplished, it is because all would have put their effort in and put their support behind to make sure it is accomplished. And this is guided by a shared vision and a collective responsibility to move this country forward, keeping our people always at the center. This is critically important. As I wrap up, we will also discuss today the issue with respect to the increase in fuel cost driven by a war that we have nothing at all to do with. And this is why it is important to get to a sustainable island state and renewable energy infrastructure, which I know the minister will speak about. I know he has some exciting updates on our trajectory to achieve a 50 megawatt solar plant and also for us to achieve the drilling for geothermal on Nevis. These things I think we are seeing clearly are very important. However, we did not wait for the crisis to happen. We were proactive in making sure that our agenda in establishing a sustainable island state that is rest on 7 pillars, that at the center of it is energy independence through renewable energy infrastructure development. So I want to say that will be a focus here today. We know that the cost of fuel would affect the cost of living. And this government will do all that it can to limit that shock from reaching our people. We will absorb as much as we can, as we did post COVID, as we have been doing to ensure that we protect our people from this shock. But these shocks will continue to affect us unless we get to energy independence and we get to the sustainable island state where we can produce our own energy here, our own water sources are reliable, food, and the other aspects of our sustainable island state agenda, which the minister can speak to. But I want this example to demonstrate why it is critically important for us to achieve that level of development. So as I wrap up, finally, to say together, we are ensuring that every step we take, every policy, every investment, every partnership moves us closer to a stronger, more sustainable, and more prosperous St. Kitts and Nevis, always for the benefits of our people. Thank you very much. At this time, I think the press secretary would open it up to the press. And I want you to recognize all of the members here and be able to direct your questions to them as they are doing significant work in their own areas. You get to see me very, very often at the round table and on the radio and so forth. So today, the rest of the cabinet will also be engaged. And so I will refer to them as much as possible, because this is the opportunity to really say from their perspective where the government, your government, is heading.
Please note that all questions will be directed to the Prime Minister, who will then direct the questions to the relevant ministers. Once you take the mic, please identify your name and the meet. Additionally, questions will be taken in sets of 2, and please ensure that your questions are concise and are linked to matters of national importance as indicated by the Prime Minister. So with that, I'll invite the first member of the media to the mic.
Good morning, Prime Minister and other ministers of the head table. I'm Glenn Bart, representing SKN Newsline. Prime Minister, first of all, I would say that the move to develop relations with African countries is a positive one, and one that I believe some will feel is overdue. Nevertheless, in the context of what is happening in the world today, and specifically in what the United States, the actions of the United States and its fallout with other countries, it seems to me that that is countries like Canada, Japan, Australia, and several others, European Union countries, are taking the steps to diversify the economies, the trade linkages, and so on. However, having reached out and made connections between these African countries, what are you perceiving to benefit in terms of timelines between, let's say, 6 months to a year? What can the people in this country expect to happen? You realize, of course, that there's a lot of talk going around saying that you're taking a lot of joy rides, and that is something that you'll have to address. But in terms of the economy, in terms of investment and so forth, what are your targets in that relation? Next, recently, the Minister of Tourism traveled, I believe, to London and Europe. And I'd just like to get an update as to what transpired in those meetings. What are the likely outcomes in terms of benefits to St. Kitts as well as to Nevis? Because in the global context as it is now, I believe there's going to be some challenges that we may have to face, that we'll have to address. Okay, right, thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bat. I will pass the second question on to the Minister of Tourism, and then the first question to the Minister responsibility for Trade, Foreign foreign affairs, etc., because a number of the tangible benefits, for example, medical professionals and so forth, he would be able to speak to, and anything else I will add. Minister Henderson?
Thank you, Prime Minister, and thank you, Mr. Bat, for the question. So I think we returned from our visits to London and the EU, in Europe, where we visited our partners in Italy and in Denmark and Germany. Let me find my notes from this meeting. But the delegation comprised myself, the deputy CEO from the St. Kitts Tourism Authority, and the chief operations officer from the St. Christopher Air and Seaports Authority. There, we met with several of our partners. Firstly, we did a diaspora visit in Birmingham. So we met with our people from the region, from St. Kitts and Nevis, who reside in Birmingham. We were able to give them updates on what's happening in tourism, and we launched there in the UK the We Lyman Diaspora campaign, which was launched in New York in September last year, as well as in Canada. We discussed with them the opportunities that are available for investing at home, helping us to be ambassadors for the destination St. Kitts and Nevis. And we also signed up a number of them who are willing to partner with us on this initiative in terms of selling the destination. Thereafter, we went and we traveled to Italy and we met with Costa Cruises, where we discussed a number of things, and some of which I can't say here because it would disclose our strategy in terms of growing the industry. But we discussed growing the business in home porting. So we are seeking to have other lines home ports in addition to P&O Cruises, who would start home porting in November 2027. We discussed with them the opportunities for marketing the destination, and they discussed with us a number of issues, such as building stakeholder relations, some of the challenges they have, and of course, some of the good news that our port ranked number 3 out of 18 ports to which their line travels. That's good news. So essentially, the discussions were discussed based on relationship building. We focused on securing, of course, our long-term relevance and position in St. Kitts and Nevis to capture greater value from the industry as it continues to evolve, not just as being a port of call, but of course, for home porting opportunities. We then went and met with our partners, that's AIDA Cruises in Germany, and we discussed similar issues and a number of opportunities that would be relevant for both that line and destinations in Kitts and Nevis. We also met with a number of media houses, so myself and the 2 other members of the delegation on Thursday, I think it was, or Wednesday, from 1 o'clock to about 7:30 in the night. We conducted a number of interviews, making sure that St. Kitts and Nevis gets visibility within that market. So we had scheduled a number of media houses who met with us, one of which was Chris Collins, and I know his show was already aired on Sunday of last week. He sent me a message, and Chris, if you ever listen to this, I'm going to be in touch with you. But Chris Collins and a number of other media houses in the UK came and met with us, and we did over a number, I would say over 10 interviews, making sure that we get the message out there. We promoted the destination, we promoted the events, including the Nevis to St. Kitts cross-channel swim, and some of the media, some of the the media houses are actually here on island. I know the CEO had dinner with one of them last night. We had about 3 of them, and one of them actually participated in the swim. So ultimately, the visit was to grow the long-term relationship with our partners and to make sure that we raise the visibility of the destination in the UK and Europe. That is one of the source markets that we want to make sure we continue to expand as it relates to where we get most of our visitors for the Europe and the UK coming like third. Of course, the US being the main major source market. And of course, all that we're experiencing now with the geopolitical issues. And so we are making sure we pivot and we are strategic with our goals ultimately and our objectives. So essentially, we are hoping that this visit would bear fruits. It has already started. Like I said, we had some of our media houses from Europe and the UK here witnessing the swim, participating with the swim and in the swim, and we're hoping to get major stories out there as well. I think that essentially covers the visits to the UK and to Europe. And we came back extremely tired. Of course, we were flying. People think we're on a joyride. I don't even understand some of the people who make the comments are people who have been in these positions and know better. But people have their agendas. But the team, I want to commend them. They make sacrifices ultimately for our people, the good people of St. Kitts and Nevis. And I want to commend the team for all their hard work.
All right. Yes, thank you very much. Minister, Senior Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Prime Minister. As I understand the question from Mr. Bart, it's like what it is that we're doing in terms of following up from the visit that was just completed to Africa. Am I correct? Before I go into that, let me, of course, make the general observation and thank the various departments of government, and in particular, of course, the officers of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs for lending full support to the recent hosting of the Caribbean, well, the CARICOM, I would say, Heads of Government Conference meeting that was held here at the end of February. I want to commend the members of the ministry, who, especially the protocol division, who went beyond their call of duty and provided the services that were required of them. I want to also thank generally the members of the other ministries who participated, and those of the private sector in particular who participated in the successful hosting of this 50th meeting of the Conference of Heads of Government of CARICOM. With regard to the continuity in the contact that we have made with Nigeria, especially within the context of the last visit that we're speaking about, I'm very pleased that the Prime Minister has announced there's going to be a special envoy who is going to be designated in particular to follow through on these matters. Of course, back in 2014, we established a commission in Abuja, in Nigeria. It may not have been up to now fully staffed, because the main person who managed that High Commission was partly out of Nigeria at that time. So I'm pleased that we are going to have persons specifically designated to follow through on a number of the initiatives that would have been identified by the Prime Minister as outcomes from this meeting. One of the important areas that I believe we can benefit from is, as has been identified, the creative industry. In fact, just last week, that is in the Ministry of International Trade, conducted an exercise with persons who were sent from the appropriate council to look at the economic programs that have arisen with our relationship with the European Union and the United Kingdom after the Lomé Conventions, etc., had been concluded. One of the areas that we identified in our consultation just last week was the creative industry. So it is very pleasing that the creative industry is one of those specific areas that we will see continued exchange of ideas and possibly investment opportunities so that we can properly develop this particular area so that we can in turn provide the basic framework within which we can pursue the economic partnership agreements that we have signed with the United Kingdom and Europe as we continue to work with these countries in Europe that had a colonial relationship with us in the past. So that is going to be important. The Prime Minister also mentioned the fact that we had been engaged with Nigeria in various areas of support. And one of those, of course, is the human resource development that they are providing to the people of St. Kitts and Nevis, especially in the health sector and also in the education sector. In fact, after we attended the meeting of the Caribbean and Africans in Ethiopia a few months ago, I made a stop on my return to St. Kitts and Nevis. I made a stop in Abuja and had discussions with the foreign minister there in Nigeria. And he was able to put me in touch immediately when I was there with the overseas training structure that they have. As a result of that, in a matter of about 6 weeks after that, we had a contingent of Nigerians arriving here as doctors and nurses and teachers who are presently functional within our own system. So I'm pleased to know that this is yet another opportunity to expand that and to find further support in areas where we have serious shortage, that technical shortage and professional shortage, that they can provide the necessary supplement and thus continue to build our basic infrastructure and thus improve on the development of St. Kitts and Nevis. I'll stop here.
Thank you very much, Senior Minister, Foreign Minister. And just to add to what was said, these things are already happening. I can say that the contingent of professionals who are here, part of their salary is being paid by the government of Nigeria. And that is a contribution to us as well. We also want to look at the matter to do with the nurses from Ghana, where we now have nurses from Ghana filling the slots that we might have as we continue to develop our nursing program here in St. Kitts and Nevis, and we expect some more to come. We also we are the first country in the Caribbean, in Caribbean, to have visa-free access to Nigeria. Remember, I discussed that a few months ago, a year ago when I visited Nigeria. I met with the president, we discussed it, and as you can see, it is delivered to St. Kitts and Nevis. So when our people went there just a few days ago, they entered into Nigeria without having to apply for a visa. The others from the other countries who entered, they had to apply for visa. Of course, the process to get them visa-free access, that is also on the way. So that is a direct outcome. The other issue with Ghana is that We have also signed the MOU for visa-free access to Ghana as well. What this is doing is strengthening our passport, opening up access and opportunities that come with that easy access to Africa. So those are direct things that we can point to where St. Kitts and Nevis is pioneering in terms of visa-free access and access to these countries and their markets. I also mentioned that we signed the MOU for movies to start filming here in June of 2026. That has been signed and that is in the process of being rolled out as well. The last matter I will touch on is ACTIV. And ACTIV is the Afri-Caribbean Investment Forum, the Afro-Caribbean Trade and Investment Forum, ACTIV. The 2026 edition will be right here in St. Kitts and Nevis, and that will take place towards the end of July. We expect participants from across the world. We have already met and agreed with the Afrixim Bank, which is leading on this, and they will bring, of course, their shareholders, their partners, investors, right here in St. Kitts and Nevis in July. They're going to be here, I think it's about 10 days to 2 weeks. You're going to have a few thousand people here. And I'm saying, I hope we can really fill have enough hotel rooms. We might have to do Airbnb and those things. Just our cruise ship. Just imagine in July, when the tourist season is at its lowest, that you have 2 weeks of a few thousand people here in St. Kitts and Nevis. Just think about the economic impact and what that would mean for the tourism industry. But in addition to that, you'll be bringing heavy hitters and investors from across the world looking for opportunities. This is a direct deliverable by this government as well. So we did it in Nigeria and we're bringing it to St. Kitts and Nevis in a bigger way so that we can have more exposure. So this is why I'm saying we're already seeing the fruits of actually reconnecting with Africa. Recently, if you listen to from the United States of America, it is identified that Africa has all of these resources that can actually lead the world. I was shocked when I heard it. If the Europeans are identifying it, the Chinese are identifying it, the Americans are identifying it, well, why shouldn't we identify it? The last 500 years, Africa has supplied the world with a lot of commerce and money to the detriment of our people. First, it was the slave trade, which supplied Europe, especially England, with significant amount of profits at our detriment. Then, in the 19th century, in the 1800s, the Berlin Conference, where basically Europe met and divided Africa for the exploitation of its resources to the benefit of Europe and not to Africa or its people in the diaspora. And then when you come during the Second World War, when the whole financial system was developed with the exclusion of Africa, people of African descent, again benefiting some and excluding others. Now Africa is being identified for human resource because by 2100, 1 in every 3 person on earth is projected to be African or African descent, 1 in every 3. Secondly, all the minerals and rare earths that we are hearing about. Arable land, there's no country that has more arable land than Africa. People, land, resources. Africa has all of these things and is projected to be the leader within short order. So if they are identifying it and they are moving to invest, then I'm simply saying that those of us who are in the 6th region of the African Union in the diaspora, that we need to be at the front of the line, collaborating with the continent so that we can have these benefits as well. So I say all of that to say that we are already reaping the benefits, and the decision by the president of Nigeria to appoint a special envoy to St. Kitts and Nevis to make sure that all of the things that we discuss are implemented. This is the first for the CARICOM that this is happening, and this is a significant step in the right direction. And so, Mr. Burt, we'll see that. So when we travel, we're not joyriding. Let me wrap up on that. We can see the direct benefits. How do you think we got a desalination plant? I went to Taiwan. That just didn't jump out the sky. How do you think we are getting home porting? The minister had to travel. She and I travel several times together, maybe 2 or 3 times together when we meet with executives overseas, seeking to convince them to make St. Kitts a major hub. That did not drop out this sky. Education, Tanzania. That's another benefit from Africa. Do you know we have 36 educational, 26, and the minister will speak to it. 26 teachers now pursuing bachelor's and master's in education with the university, the Open University of Tanzania. That is happening. That is not to come. That is happening. These are the benefits we are getting from our contact with Africa. And the more we engage and the more we contact, is the more benefits that we will see. So I mentioned those things. If they don't come, we have to go. And when we go, we will bring them to see. And that is why ACTIV, which is a major investment, trade and investment forum, in partnership with Afrixim Bank, one of the largest banks across the whole of Africa, will be held here in July of 2026. So I would say that we are already seeing the fruits of all of the significant work that we have been doing in linking us back to what I dearly term the motherland.
Good morning, Prime Minister, Cabinet members. First question, Prime Minister, you alluded to the launch of a procurement process for a 50 million megawatt solar plant and battery storage system. My question is, how will the government ensure that this landmark project delivers tangible benefits for consumers, particularly in terms of lower energy costs, and what timeline, if any, can be provided right now the public can expect for its completion and its impact? My second question, the government recently provided clarity on the construction of the Boston High School project. Many, including members of the former administration, has since been chastising the move and the process of it all. Can you provide further clarity, speaking to the company that will be handling this project, as well as the process being employed, and how would you respond to those who are speaking ill about the entire thing? Thanks.
Thank you very much. Minister, Honorable Congress Maynard, I think the first question pertains to you.
Thank you very much for the question, and a pleasant good morning to everyone tuned in to this press conference. It is indeed our pleasure to announce that SCELEC has officially launched the competitive tender for a 50 megawatt solar PV and battery energy storage project. Now, this is major, this is historic, it is transformative, and importantly, it is very transparent. And I'd want to take this opportunity now for those listening for me to read the actual press release from SCELEC announcing the launch of this particular initiative. SCELEC launches competitive tender for landmark 50 megawatt solar PV and battery energy storage project. The St. Kitts Electricity Company Limited, SCELEC, is pleased to announce the official launch of the request for proposals for the Bastia Valley 50 megawatt solar PV and 30.5 megawatt hour battery energy storage system project, a transformative national initiative aimed at modernizing St. Kitts' energy sector. This tender launch follows formal cabinet approval and concludes a rigorous 12-month due diligence process assessing the technical, financial, economic, and legal readiness of the project. Advisory support was provided by Castalia, ILF Consulting Engineers, GIDE, Guide, and Merchant Law, ensuring the project is prepared to meet global standards for renewable energy development. Speaking on the next phase of the project, Mr. Clement Williams, General Manager of SCELEC, stated, and I quote, "SCELEC remains committed to advancing the Federation's energy transition in a transparent and structured manner. The launch of the request for proposals marks another important milestone in bringing this transformational renewable energy project to fruition. This initiative will significantly strengthen our energy security, reduce reliance on imported fuels, and accelerate the path towards us achieving our 2030 renewable energy targets as per St. Kitts and Nevis's nationally determined contributions, NDCs, for CO2 emissions reduction. Providing remarks following a stakeholder briefing, Minister of Public Infrastructure, Energy et al., yours truly, said, "This is a defining step in the transformation of the energy future of St. Kitts and Nevis. It is historic, not only in scale, but in what it represents, a decisive shift toward greater energy independence and sustainability for our federation. Importantly, this milestone is the result of a rigorous, transparent, and internationally benchmarked process, ensuring a fair and competitive procurement that delivers maximum value for the people of St. Kitts and Nevis. Individuals, end of quote. Individuals and entities interested in receiving the project RFP document and tender package for preparation and submission of bids are required to register through the bidders portal. Local contractors and local investors wishing to participate in this historic clean energy project are invited to register their interest at the following links. You can go to my Facebook page, you can go to Skelex's Facebook page and their websites to get all of the links. So that was the official press release from Skelec. What this means is that this project will provide approximately 30% of our energy needs. And we have gone about it the right way. We have engaged professionals to do everything from grid impact analysis, techno-economic analysis, market sounding, talking with the market regionally and across the globe to get the best practice and to make the best design for this project. The bidding is now open. I believe the close period for the complete bids is around 90 days. After that, there is a period for evaluation and then for signing and start of construction. Later on through the process of the RFP, we'll be able to provide some more definitive timelines as to when we expect construction to begin, which is going to be in a few months. But I want to underscore the significance and the historic nature of this. This is going to be talked about across the region as a best practice approach to our energy transition. We have already had a lot of interest. People have been able to pre-register. The numbers are already in the teens the last time we checked last week. And so I expect that it's going to be significantly more. Very importantly, I want local participants to pay attention. I do not want this to be open to everyone. And then when it's closed, you said, well, we do not know. So I'm inviting the media, I'm inviting everyone listening to pay attention to Skelec's page to see the opportunities that everyone has. Whether you provide food during construction, whether you have a contracting company, whether you can consult, whether you have solar capabilities, whatever your expertise is, we have made sure that this project is open and available to the residents of St. Kitts and Nevis. I want to thank at this moment, especially the stakeholders involved in this project. As I mentioned, this is a very, very rigorous project. We've been meeting literally weekly to update the ministry and all stakeholders. So I want to specifically thank the St. Kitts Electricity Company and its officers. They have done an extraordinary job receiving the pressure, for instance, from my office and from me, actually, to make sure that this gets done. I want to specifically thank, of course, the Attorney General's office, who had to be involved in all of the legal discussions in the preparation of the draft PPA and everything that is associated with the project. I want to thank the Ministry of Sustainable Development. They are the ones who had to prepare all of the documentation surrounding the land on the Bastia Valley Aquifer, the surveys, and all of those different things. And there are other stakeholders involved who have provided services along the way. I would like to specifically thank them. This is an extraordinary important project, and it is one that we should be very, very proud of in the way that we have pursued it. I think I've given enough on the Skelec 50 megawatt, 30.5 megawatt hour battery PV and battery energy storage project. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Minister. The other question was on the Basque High School. I'll turn that over to the Minister of Education, the Deputy Prime Minister.
Thank you very much, Honorable Prime Minister, and to all present, a very pleasant good morning. Before I answer, let me first congratulate the Tucker Clark Primary School for winning the 16th Rams Inter Primary School champs, and to all of the schools who participated. It was a weekend of great talent, and I am asking parents to look at ways of investing even more in their children with those talents, because they are going to be great athletes and scholarships are available in that area as well. So this is something that we are going to be even paying more attention to the Ministry of Education and Sports as well. So congratulations to Tucker Clark, 3 champions, zonal champs of champs, and Rams Inter Prime. That's how we do it in East Bastia. But to the question of Jelani, as it's known, even in previous press conference, we have not hid any information from the public, but it's always good to reiterate the pre-concourse kits. They are the ones who will be delivering the Bastia High School to for the citizens of this country, primarily for our students. In relation to how can we speak to the ills that persons are saying, I think it was my colleague earlier this morning, Honorable Marshall Henderson, who indicated that there would always be agendas. And at this point, I don't think we would be distracted. The students deserve a school, and we have given the commitment that we are going to deliver a school. And that is exactly what we are doing, because students have been waiting for over 10 years. And in a mere 3.5, 4 years, this government was able to prove to them that something is in fact happening. It might not have happened or look like it was happening based on how we wanted to be looking at it, but what I can say, me not being an expert, I didn't realize there's so much work must have been put in place even before we get to you seeing even a piece of steel. And from all reports, the project is on its way. And as we indicated, 90% of the workers would be from this federation. Our skilled workers, our plumbers, our electrician, our laborers, our AC tech, our heavy equipment operators, even our food vendors, all of these persons are bound to benefit. And at the end of the day, this school is going to be one that is climate resilient, and it is a turnkey initiative, meaning when the building is done or completed, the campus, and I am calling it a campus because it is in fact a campus, and it will be one of the best in the region as well. All the students attending that institution will have to do, including teachers, is walk into a building, desk, labs, all of that would be already in place for them. And as we progress with the project, I will be sharing more with the general public. But we are delivering the Bastia High School amidst all of the agendas. And again, I reiterate, the children deserve the school. And as a country, we need to come together and make sure that the students are comfortable in an environment, because I'm regular at the schools, and that's basically all that they are saying. Minister, when are we getting our school? Yes, they are doing good work where they are, but because of the separation of the buildings, it is affecting the correct school environment, and we are going to fix that. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Previous. One, two. Right. You can hear me now? You asked a pointed question that I think should be answered as well. And I want to thank the minister for that comprehensive review of what is happening with the Bastia High School. The last administration ran in 2015 saying that the Bastia High School had significant health issues and that the students needed to move. In our estimation then and still now, it was on the altar of politics that was done. Because I can say today that Keon High School had more mold than Bastia High School. We cleaned up the Keon High School, investing millions of dollars when the students had to go home. And they had the report since 2018, 2019. I discovered it, and with the minister, we took care of it. And they spent $21 million. And not one brick laid, as you can see. In addition to that, every month they used to pay a particular company hundreds of thousands of dollars. Nothing delivered. How did that company get that? No record. Done in the dark night when they thought nobody was listening. But we have the records now. And they had 7 years. So there are 3 things here politically. 1, they ran on it. 2, they had 7 years. 3, they claimed they made $4.2 billion. Well, they made, I can say, $4.2 billion from the CBI, spent $21 million and no delivery of the Bastia High School. I think that is a travesty. And in less than half the time, this administration had already made significant moves, including all that the minister spoke about. And now we are at the verge of delivering the Bastia High School. You talk about Preconco. Preconco is a local company that has been registered here since the 1990s. Senior minister will remember that company. It is owned by a Kititian, Nivision, who also have that in Barbados, where he resides as well. And so part of the school, because of the technology they employ in their whole structure of building, is being done there. But the vast part of it will then be delivered here because it has to be delivered here. And most of the workers on the school, a significant number that was mentioned, because that is in the contract as well, will be our people right here in St. Kitts and Nevis. And we are determined that we will deliver the Bastia High School for our people. So I'm very, very pleased with what the Minister of Education has been doing. He did not create the problem, but he is resolving the problem with the support from his cabinet colleagues. And that must be underscored. So to finally say on the matter, that this administration, by the hook or by the crook, is going to deliver the Bastia High School for the benefit of our students here in St. Kitts and Nevis, specifically those who go to the Bastia High School. I want to take this opportunity to give the Minister of Energy the mic again, as he wants to expound on a number of other things.
Thank you, Mr. Prime Minister. Another part of your question dealt with the price, which I didn't deal with. Now, because we have done the market analysis on the RFP project for Skelec, we know that the price that utility, that is the solar utility, can provide is going to be significantly less than the price that we would have to pay from generating that electricity from fuel. It is a competitive process, so we will await, of course, what the market eventually gives. But after they go through all of their due diligence, after they pass all of their checks, after they meet all the requirements, then it's going to be about who offers us the best value. And we anticipate that we're going to have a very good price that is going to allow Skelec to expand as it needs to build out the type of infrastructure and prevent the cost of energy from rising when it is in place, and eventually for it to be reducing over time. Additional to that, I wanted to add, Mr. Prime Minister, that on April 30th, next month, we're going to have the official launch and implementation of what is called the Solarize Initiative, where now local resident consumers from the St. Kitts Electricity Company can install their solar systems on their roof, contribute that energy to the grid, and get paid in credit for the excess energy they put onto the grid. So stand by for April 30th. From that date, you will be able to connect your system to Skelex Grid. So you can start the process now. You can visit our website, the Energy Department website, etc., to get any preliminary information. And we'll be putting out some PR information as we go along. But this is also major, especially in the global context. So St. Kitts and Nevis, to the Labour Party administration, is positioning itself to be independent of the shocks that we see happening in the global sphere when it comes to energy production. And so I want to invite everyone to pay keen attention to these. These are being done for our benefit, and let's take those opportunities. Thank you, Mr. Prime Minister.
Minister, let me ask a question, because this sounds really good in simple terms. So a man and man can put a solar panel on the roof, create some energy, use some, send some to Skelec, and Skelec pay them for it?
That's right, Mr. Prime Minister.
Thank you, Minister. Thank you.
Well, it's a credit, of course.
Yes, of course, a credit. Thank you. Thank you.
Good morning, Lushan Dixon, St. Kitts News Observer. Prime Minister, given the current geopolitical climate that has led to the rise of fuel and the overall cost of living, what concrete short-term measures is your administration considering putting in place to ease the burden of people of St. Kitts and Nevis, especially the more vulnerable individuals and families, and ensure they are protected from the immediate impacts? Moving on to the Destiny Project, when can the public expect a definitive decision on from the federal government on the project? What stages remain in the review process before approval or rejection is confirmed? And finally, how will the planned amendments to the legislation, SSZ legislation, impact the Destiny Project? And is it possible that the project may be needed to be altered, to comply with the new legislative framework, and especially considering the time constraint that Premier Brantley has indicated?
Thank you very much. On the matter of the legislative aspect with the SSD and Destiny, I will ask the Attorney General to respond to that.
Good morning, everyone. In January, the Honorable Prime Minister set up an ad hoc advisory committee to advise the Cabinet on proposed amendments to strengthen the SSZ Authorization Act. That report was received, I believe, at the end of February, and we have, as a Cabinet, just gone through it preliminarily, and we intend to have a full submission prepared with the recommendations from that wide-based ad hoc committee for soonest tabling of proposed amendments to the SSC Authorization Act. So that should go to Parliament very soon, within weeks. Technically, the application that was made already, that the Cabinet received on January 29th this year, was done under the existing Act. That doesn't mean that some of the recommendations from the committee won't be implemented in the review process. So it's, how do I explain this? There's the legislation that was in place, it is the law. There was an actual application received under that legislation. The recommendations involve, for example, the Oversight Committee. One of the recommendations is that the committee, or they call it a board, be mandatory. So what the Prime Minister has done is actually written to the civil society members, the church, the chamber, the bar association, a couple of Nevis groups, etc., to set up the Oversight Committee. So effectively, even though it's not mandatory under the Authorization Act, it has been made mandatory by an act of the Prime Minister. That committee is going to then meet this week, and they are going to start the full consideration of the actual application that was submitted on January 29th. So that committee then now will prepare its review and submit that review to cabinet for cabinet to then consider the actual application of Destiny. And then we go from there. It is important to note that the application was originally with the NIA from August to December last year. We received the application January 29, 2026. This is not something that can be rushed. The Prime Minister has already indicated that he wishes to take advice from an official oversight committee, and that committee has been written to. The persons have been invited. There was a preliminary meeting of some of the members, and then the full meeting where the chair, the vice chair, and the procedure will be done this week for then now the committee to decide how it's going to go about its business. I want to mention another point. It's very important, and the Prime Minister has said this on his round table. There are certain constitutional matters that are within the remit of the NIA only, written in black and white in our Constitution. The federal cabinet's job is to deal with matters and take advice on matters, not just from the civil society groups, but from internal government technocrats on the matters that are federal in nature. So the review that the federal government will do are in relation to the matters that are federal in nature, because it is very important that the federal government doesn't cross over into the remit of the NIA. And so I can't answer the question as to when the review will be complete, but I can tell you that the process is in motion.
Thank you very much, AG, for that. And I think that would have clarified any questions surrounding that particular matter. Now, the other question that was asked was respect to the cost of living. Let me say that this administration, this Labour administration, has been doing a significant number of things since we took office in 2022 to ease the burden of the cost of living for our people. And if we were to reflect on the number of things that we would have done, we would have invested significant amount in the area of hundreds of millions of dollars to protect our people. Let us remember that we paid dividends, we paid independence reset. In addition to with the independence reset, you can recall that we cleared people's backlog where they had arrears in housing or at the electricity department and so forth. We came up with strategies to help to ease the burden for people. So we have invested significantly and taken on that loss to ease the cost of living after COVID, that shock that affected all of us. Geopolitical matters, what we call the polycrisis, even as far as climate change. We also subsidize heavily and continue to subsidize electricity cost, even presently, without the present rise in the cost of fuel. We continue. If you look on your bill, you'll see something that I think it says discount. I think that is what they possibly put on the bill today. But the bill, FVC discount, right? That is there showing that if you had not had that discount, you would see the real cost of your bill. St. Kitts and Nevis has one of the lowest electricity costs to consumers, to our people in the whole region, because we absorb so much of the cost and subsidize so much to help our people. Same way with water. We subsidize so much of the water delivery to our people that sometimes I think when people see the water bill, they say, oh, that ain't nothing, I don't have to pay it. But I want to encourage people, even if it's a few dollars, that, everybody paying a few dollars, helps a lot. As we say in St. Kitts, as we say here, one full basket. And that can help us to continue to build out the infrastructure. Remember, we also did the BBW for 6 months when there was a significant shock. Every month, we helped 20-something thousand people. Nowhere else in the Caribbean was a program like this delivered to help with the cost of living. So I want to reiterate all these things. In addition to that, we still had lift. In addition to that, we raised the minimum wage. We gave pension to the JE workers to help with the cost of living. We increased the minimum pension amount from Social Security. Just think about all of those things: pension, minimum wage, increase Social Security minimum amount, so that we could have put more money in people's pocket so it could help with the cost of living. And so we are dealing with another shock, and we are analyzing and looking at the situation. But our people can be assured that we are going to come up with specific policies to deal with these specific matters. I mentioned it in my opening, and that will be a big topic for our next cabinet meeting. In addition to that, the cost of living task force headed by our cabinet secretary met very recently to look at the matter. And I think they put something out, and concrete things will be put out. So we continue to help our people. So we are not just waiting for this shock. We had policies in place, and we'll strengthen them according to what the needs would be. However, I would like to say that when it comes to the cost of living, there are a lot of things that may not be directly in our control or any government's control, especially us who buy fuel on the global market. We don't produce fuel here. We have to buy it at very high cost. The Caribbean and St. Kitts and Nevis pay some of the highest cost for fuel in the world, in the whole world. And it's because we are islands, and therefore the unit cost for us is extremely high. I was speaking to somebody when I was in Nigeria. How much do you pay per kilowatt? They told me 7 or 8 cents. In St. Kitts and Nevis, that can be 30 cents US. That's 4 times as much. And they produce it, but they are buying it at the cost as well. But just to show you, because of our size, how much more we have to pay for fuel. And so we are absorbing some of those costs. That is why we have to get to a sustainable island state where we want to become energy independent. And I'm very pleased with what the minister with responsibility for energy said this morning, that now the RFP for the 50 megawatt solar plant is out. So we want to get that done very quickly. And I dare say today that with respect to geothermal, that we are in the finalization stages of signing the contract to start drilling for geothermal on Nevis. I want to make that announcement today. So we have been putting all of these things in place to deal with a world that is unpredictable. A war breakout, costs gone up, and we're not involved in the war, but we are suffering the consequences, and disproportionately so, because we are small and open economies. So that is why we want everybody to participate in the sustainable island state agenda. And to that end, I'm asking our people to do their part as well, to help the situation, a situation over which no one has control. And then if you hear politicians out there talking, which one of them could determine that the oil of fuel go down tomorrow? The price of fuel go down tomorrow? Which one of them can dictate that? So any of them suggesting that they are fooling the people. And so our people, I know, are wise people that are exposed to the information, and they know that no government in the Caribbean, including St. Kitts and Nevis, has any control over the price or cost of fuel. But with all that I've mentioned, we will update our strategies to ease the burden on our people based on the shocks that occur, including this one. But I also want to say that I hope now that our people are understanding clearer why is it we rushed. And the Minister with responsibility for sustainable development, Dr. Joel Clark, Honorable Dr. Joel Clark, who has been the lead on the sustainable island state agenda, why is it we implemented that strategy so early? Because we have to free ourselves as far as possible from these shocks that affect us disproportionately negatively. And the thing is, we have no control over them. So I would say, to your question, we'll continue to strengthen these specific strategies, and we will have the specific strategies going forward. Strategies are already in place, and we will move them forward. From consumer affairs, an app is out. so that people can make sure that there's no price gouging. You can report if you suspect there's price gouging. That is important as well. That is why we are going to look for new markets in Africa. Can we get things cheaper? And I want to say today that I met with President Ali, and Guyana and St. Kitts and Nevis, in short order, will be signing an MOU and MOAs based on 7 pillars. One of them will be food security, because again, Guyana has been identified as one of those countries that produce enough food. And the objective of that is so that we can get the food at a cheaper cost from a fellow Caribbean nation. So you will hear more of that. That will cover energy, food, education, health. We know that Guyana is moving steadily ahead because they have discovered a significant resource for which we are extremely happy for them. And Guyana wants to leverage some of that in the Caribbean to their benefit and to the benefit of our people here as well. And so some more announcements will be made with respect to that and how that is going to directly benefit us in terms of the cost of living here in St. Kitts and Nevis as well. So I want to thank you for that, and we'll continue to monitor the situation and act prudently to protect our people, especially the most vulnerable among us. And we know this is going to have impact on our growth projection and so forth. If we are realistic, all the countries in the world will be affected, including St. Kitts and Nevis. We had already seen growth beyond the CBI, which was part of our strategy. How can we get the economy to grow with less dependence on the CBI because of the precariousness of that sector, though important, and we continue to strengthen it to serve our people. And so when you thought you're getting beyond, a next shock happened. But we are not shocked by the shocks. We know that these things can happen. And that is why we are accelerating towards a sustainable island state, really to say, to put measures in place to protect our people here in St. Kitts and Nevis. Thank you.
Good morning. Ebony Brandon, SKN Source. The first question I have is with regard to the situation at South Friars. We understand that there is supposed to be a deadline of April 7th for the final move for the businesses which are operating there currently. Is there any update on that, and how, if at all, this is affecting the project that is slated to be developed in that area? The other question that I have is with respect to some unfolding circumstances that we keep seeing regarding the police force, allegations of forced leave, which has been rejected. However, in the last 24 hours or so, we're also seeing that a certain inspector, allegedly under the Whistleblower Act, is claiming that there is misconduct and corrupt behavior that is taking place in the force. Is there anything that you can share with us about those situations unfolding from a national security point of view? Thank you.
The Minister of Tourism is there, the AG is here as well, with respect to the South Friars matter and the legal aspects around it. I think the AG can talk to them, but something was put out by the cabinet that I think had a lot of details in it as to what is happening at the South Friars end. I would let the AG answer on the legal aspect of it, but I would say that the thrust of this government is to first look out for our people and to help our people. If there's a matter that would affect our people, we will seek to find alternatives and to help. If you look at that document, it clearly states that this administration is being very proactive. Let me say from the onset that they were asked, the vendors were asked, since under the previous administration, to relocate. Let us make that clear. So when I see members from the previous administration grandstanding, that to me is just for political expediency. Let the facts speak for themselves. I want the press to capture that. They were asked by the previous administration to relocate. However, the project was not realized for reasons I would not get into. The land there is private land. It is not government's land. It is as if you have a piece of private land and somebody come on your private land, and then somebody comes to the government to say, allow me to stand somebody's private land. I can't do that. I can't tell somebody to stand your private land. This is not crown land at all. And so I want that to be clear. So there is no injustice being meted out. This is not crown land, this is private land. And the persons who own the land are saying that we are ready to develop the land. So I want that to be noted as well. What this government did, came up with a plan to help those who would be displaced by giving them opportunities to relocate in other areas that are touristic areas, to give them support with logistics and cost of relocation. All of that we are offering, because these are our people, and we want to make sure that they are given the best opportunity. So they will never be abandoned by this administration. They will definitely be helped as much as possible so that they can continue their endeavors as private business persons. And I want to say that this government is very compassionate to them. All of this help that is being offered, the government is not obligated in any way. But we don't look at that and say what we are obligated to. We are compassionate. These are our people who will be affected. How can we help them? And that is why we are putting resources, make resources available to help them in their relocation so that they can continue their businesses. That is what this government is doing. So that they can continue their business, so that those who are the owners of the private land, that they can do the development that they seek to do under our laws and stipulations, so that it can be a win-win situation. A win for those who have to relocate with all of the support and help, and a win for those who have their private land to develop, to build a hotel that will create thousands of jobs, construction, and all of the other direct and indirect opportunities during construction, and then operation, because it would create hundreds of permanent jobs for our people here in St. Kitts and Nevis. So I continue to say to those who might be affected, we are here to help. We are here to make sure you continue your endeavors as business people. We value you. We respect you. We care about you. And that is why we are creating, I would say, a soft landing for you in this situation at this time. I don't know, AG, if you want to add, and then the minister will also add something. Oh, okay, go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Ebony, for the question. I can do no better than to read from the letter itself that was sent on March 13, 2026. The letter is captioned, Offer of Alternative Locations for Operation. We refer to our letter dated November 10, 2025. So our letter was sent in November 2025. And to the subsequent email correspondence exchange with your office, that is the lawyer's office for the bar owners, on November 13, 19, 20th, and 21st, 2025, concerning the removal of the above captioned establishments from the South Friars Beach and the government's offer, I want to repeat this, the government's offer of alternative state-owned locations from which the bar operators could continue their businesses lawfully. So I think it's clear from that first paragraph, what the Prime Minister has just said is the reality. The reality is that the state is seeking alternative locations. Now, let me give you some historical context. The lands at Friars Bay were never state-owned. When Sir Paul Southwell went to the landowners that owned Frigate Bay and Friars Bay, one family owned that, the negotiation ended with the state being able to purchase Frigate Bay, and the family at that time kept Friars Bay. In the early 80s, the majority of the land at Friars Bay was sold to an individual. That land was purchased by developers I think either late in 2024. So that land has always been private land. Where Carambola Beach Club is private land. Adjacent to Carambola, up at the hill around the corner with the big stone, private land. So I want it to be made clear that the government, the state, does not have any land there. What the law says, however, is that no individual, company, otherwise, in St. Kitts and Nevis can stop the public from accessing a beach. Our access to the beach is preserved by law. There's some countries in the Caribbean who do not have that statutory provision where persons can actually stop others from coming to a beach. Our law says that you must, if you own land abutting a beach, create sufficient public access so that all Kittitians and Nevisians and visitors can visit the beach. What that does not do is allow persons without special permission to operate businesses on that beach. Let me give you an example because it's something that I thought in my head. We all know the St. Kitts Nevis Marriott, most of us in here and most of the people in St. Kitts and Nevis. The St. Kitts Nevis Marriott does not own their beach. Suppose somebody with a bar went onto the beach tomorrow and set up a bar in front of the chairs that are on the beach that Marriott operate without permission. What should the Marriott do? Call it on the Marriott land. Marriott would call the government and say, have you given permission for this person? And you would not do that. That's a hotel. There was a situation similar to this in Nevis, where a very popular bar owner was on land that was owned by a very popular hotel. And there was litigation. And the result of that was a solution that was a win-win. The bar went further down the beach and is now well established and one of the world's most famous bars. The government is trying to give an opportunity to the bar owners at Friars Bay to have a similar solution by giving alternatives in 2 different locations. And I think it's important to say it is alternatives. It is not kicking off, it is alternatives. We must respect land rights because nobody can come into your backyard tomorrow, set up a shack and say, I want to sleep here. You can't get rid of me. That's not how the law works in St. Kitts and Nevis. And the government, as the Prime Minister has said, has been very fair. November, which is the heart of the season, notice was given. We are now almost at the end of the season. So the bar operators were given an opportunity to get a full season in. And the developers now want to move forward on their land. And the government has said, we have not given you special permission. I want to end by saying, before I hand over to the Honorable Minister of Tourism, these same bar owners signed a lease with the previous landowners in the Friars Bay area. A lease. A lease is an acknowledgement that someone owns the land, that you're on their land. And that is when there was an attempt to develop the land in 2017 or 2018. So all of them had leases at that time. So I think that this is, to be fair, a very fair solution to maintain business, maintain the bar culture, which is a good culture, and also be fair to the land rights that the landowner has, as well as the public's access to the beach.
Yes, Minister Henderson.
Thank you, Prime Minister. And just to follow on from the learned and Honorable Attorney General as it relates to the ownership of the lands at Friars Bay, we in tourism do not regulate the operations on the beach because we're the owners of the land. The legislation, which is the Prescribed Areas Act, and the Vendors Act on the tourism is what gives us the jurisdiction to regulate prescribed spaces. And prescribed spaces are where tourism operations occur. And the SKTA, that's the St. Kitts Tourism Authority, is responsible for regulating those spaces. So you would see our inspectors, there are rules that apply to the spaces, of course, to the benefit of our visitors and our stakeholders. And so our intervention in this matter on behalf of this government is to make sure that the transitioning is seamless. Not that we own the land, not that this government is asking persons to move because we own the lands. But as the Attorney General says, and the Prime Minister said, we want to help our people. And so we've offered two alternatives, being Cockleshell and Frigate Bay. And of course, we are open to discussions with our stakeholders as it relates to other alternatives. We've offered the cost of relocation, help them to set up, help them to move, whatever it's going to cost them. That is what we offered. We have not received a response. I'm told that we have not received a response from the in relation to the same correspondence that the Attorney General referred to. That's the correspondence of March 13th. I have received a number of calls at my office from some persons. I am assuming those calls are in relation to setting up these meetings, but we have counsel in the matter. The bar owners have decided to get counsel in the matter, and once we hear back from counsel, we are prepared to sit down with them in consultation with the Attorney General's chambers and of course the staff at the St. Kitts Tourism Authority on relocating the vendors. So not that we own the lands, we're just regulating the spaces, just as we regulate the beaches, we regulate Brimstone Hill, we regulate Port Zante. Every single tourism spot is regulated for the benefit of our visitors. We have our inspectors there, and this is just one of the spots that we regulate. And we wanted to assist with the transition. And for us, this is also important. I see a lot of circulation about empty rooms on the internet, why we want more hotels. And this, I mean, I don't even I don't even understand. For us to grow tourism and elevate it to another level, we need to grow our room stock. I keep saying Anguilla, which is just a stone throw away, has over 3,000 rooms, and they're able to attract major airlift. So some people call me, Masha, how come we ain't getting this? Masha, what happened? This going Anguilla, this flight going Anguilla. When we sit with our airline partners, they want us to have the rooms. No, the rooms are not empty. All of that is chatter. That is chatter and people being mischievous. Like I said, late last year, we started on a one-on-one visits with our hoteliers. We actually had a meeting with them earlier this year as well. And this year, the hoteliers have formed an umbrella under the Chamber of Commerce. So the Hotel and Tourism Association was not functioning for some time. And so we had to be doing our one-on-ones. Usually the collective body would respond and negotiate on behalf of the hoteliers. That not being in place, we would do one-on-ones. We started our one-on-ones, and they have reported to us that the rooms are filled. In fact, even for June, music festival since January and some hotels since December. And they're reporting loads, the occupancy rates are between 75 to 80%. So I'm not sure where this rhetoric about empty rooms are coming from. People are being mischievous. They have their agendas, like I said. But to go back to the point about building rooms, building more hotels, wherever we decide to build them, wherever we decide to build them, we need those rooms if we're going to grow the tourism sector, if we're going to attract more airlift from other markets and different areas, they want us to have those rooms. And if we sit back and say we need no more rooms, then that means we're not serious about tourism. And so I support what Dr. Douglas said, he want a room? Joking. But we do need those rooms. And I support my colleagues, the Prime Minister and the Senior Minister who's responsible for economic investment in going out and making sure we get the investment that we need to grow the economy. Tourism contributes over 42% of the economy right now, and this government continues our efforts to make sure that we can diversify the economy and not rely so heavily on tourism. As we speak now, as it is, we need those rooms. I want to encourage our people not to buy into the nonsense that is being peddled on the social media platforms. The hoteliers are working along with us in tourism as well, and they're making sure they do their part to make sure those rooms are filled. So we are still open to the bar owners to through their council, of course, to come and sit with us in terms of transitioning. We ain't trying off nobody. This government ain't trying. Maybe the AJ wants to say it like this, but this government ain't trying off nobody off the lands because we don't own the lands. And as a trained lawyer, I understand what it means. It's only the person who has ownership of the land who can assert those rights.
Thank you very much, Minister and AG. With respect to the police and force leave, again, in the spirit in which the Minister for Tourism, Honorable Marshall, spoke, there are those who just want to peddle a lot of things. When they don't have anything to say, they start to make up things. You want to ask if people like Wally Wilkin love their country. And they will call him out because they want to disparage their country and then say they are patriots. The other day, one of them said they ain't happy unless they're in power. Power hungry. You have to love your country whether you're in office or not. And by the people's will, they're not going back in. Quotes down. And I say it like that because, and who is staying? And I say it like that because how can you who want to be a potential politician make statements like that? So what is going through that whole strategic approach by them is seek to bring down the name of St. Kitts and Nevis and destroy its reputation. People can't believe when they come to St. Kitts and Nevis and they see what we are about. They say, look at when CARICOM was here and you saw the ambassador of Barbados went back. He was just astonished by St. Kitts. He said, wow. That is why the minister said we rank third throughout the whole Caribbean in terms of ports. They're looking to the home port in here in St. Kitts and Nevis. This is a great country, a good country. When we were in opposition, we did not practice this type of what I call gutter politics. And I hear them talking, the blowing hard, running out of breath, and the election season ain't start yet. But when it starts, what's going to happen? I'm simply saying that they should stop trying to bring down their country. In the police force, after the change, we had a set of the previous administration did not want to appoint a deputy commissioner, never did. We added an extra ACP. We brought on 2 new ACPs, a new commissioner, new deputy, and about 2 new ACPs. And so, in order to settle in, they stayed on the job consistently for about 2 years or 2.5 years without vacation. And so, they accumulated a lot of vacation time. And one of the things that is concerning is that you don't want them to burn out. And so, you say, okay, we have passed that critical period. And the commissioner and his leadership team was asked to put a plan in place of how you can responsibly make sure that the ACPs and the leadership get their vacation. That wasn't good enough. Big news. High command and forced vacation leave. That is not so. That is the furthest thing from the truth. And so I want to condemn Wally Wilkin, PLP, and they who are trying to peddle falsehood in this country. And so I am happy that the commissioner have set up a plan. They did it among themselves, sat down and worked it out because they're leaders and said, look, this is how we're going to work out our vacation. Because it's important that they don't get burnout and they take their vacation leave. Now, you say in the last 24 hours, something has surfaced with respect to a whistleblower. We have whistleblower legislation. This administration has put whistleblower legislation in place so that anybody anywhere who feel aggrieved, they have a channel. The only thing I would ask them is that when you use the channel, to be mindful that people don't use you for any political gain. Be mindful, the legislation is clear. You have a pathway. We did it so that you don't stay in there and can't have a pathway. You follow as the law says. And if somebody is a police officer or in there, I would ask them to make sure that they follow the law carefully. Because when you are going to, when anybody make accusation, I'm not speaking to this particular case, you have to make sure you have, because if you accuse people, people also would have a chance to represent themselves. But I ask that when you use the whistleblower legislation, you use it to your benefit and you use it wisely and you make sure it is not abused. But again, Wally Wilkin, with his Times Caribbean, want to push as if the hell is breaking loose. It is because we have put legislation in place to allow persons who want to address a grievance through the whistleblower legislation. I passed it with the AG. We passed it in this whole cabinet, who is part of the legislative arm as well. We passed it. And this is the kind of thing I like to see, that if you have a grievance, you can use the law. However, do not allow your privilege to be abused by people who have some political agenda to undermine the police force. I want to thank the High Command for its excellent leadership, and for any officer who might use the whistleblower, anybody else, you have a right to use it. So in a sense, I have to balance this matter. You have a right, but use it responsibly, and the High Command will make sure that it carries out what it has to carry out. But for people who want to use this for political gain and abuse the law, I'm talking about those nefarious persons, not the person who is using it, in a sense, to create some sort of cloud around the police force. Look at the tremendous success of the police force. The other day, I saw the High Command. The High Command does house to house, you know. This High Command does house to house. They were in Navy's doing house to house. They were in Old War doing house to house. And so you must highlight that they have done exceedingly well, along with the other officers of the police force. We have done tremendously well to help the members of the police force. We have just started a new batch of recruits, 30 excellent recruit, and I want to congratulate the police force again for that excellent move. Remember when we came in the police force, for example, they didn't get the honorarium. We gave all of them the honorarium. The police force benefited from the increase in salary. The police force benefited from lifelong health insurance. Once you are a police officer and you serve your time, you have health insurance until the Lord decides to take you from this earth. Show me another country in the Caribbean that has that. These are the things that we have done for our armed forces. Honorarium, increase in salary, lifelong insurance, and opportunities for training. And we set up the whistleblower to make sure that those who might have grievances, they can have a pathway to get their grievances addressed. So I'm happy that the law is working. However, what I will never be happy about is when people seek to use the application of the law for some nefarious political advantage. Speaking specifically of Wally Wilkin, whose action is anti-St. Kitts. Just go and look at the garbage that he puts out. Wally Wilkin, who works at Horsfords. And so I hope he wakes up, because we're not going to. You actually wonder if he loves St. Kitts and Nevis. So I want to put that forward, and to encourage the police force and encourage the police officers to continue to work well, to do their work. We are here to support you. We are here to help you. And it is your right if you want to use the whistleblower legislation. That is why it is there in the first place. And so thank you very much.
Morning, ministers. Zion Jackson, ZZ Broadcasting Corporation. So my question is as it relates to climate and resilience. So for a bit of context, about 6 or 7 months ago, the price of Brent crude, which is one of the major popular global brands or the benchmark for oil prices, was about $66 per barrel. Now, if my math is correct, that's times that by 2.7, that is 178 Eastern Caribbean dollars. And the current price in early 2026 has risen to USD 107 to $110 per barrel. That represents over 50% of an increase. So my question is, what strategies is the government implementing to reduce carbon emissions and to promote clean energy across the islands? Because we need oil. We need oil to import. We need oil to keep our generators running. We also need oil to keep our cars running. And my second question is, how is the administration working with local communities to ensure climate action plans are effective as well as sustainable? Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'll pass that very quickly to the Minister with Responsibility for Sustainable Development, Honorable Dr. Joy L. Clark, who will answer this particular question.
Thank you so much, Prime Minister. The first question on the reference to the cost of oil, I think equally can be answered by the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Minister of Finance, and the Minister of Energy. And the Minister of Energy quite aptly described our own transitions with our RFP that just went out for solar, as well as the Prime Minister's intervention on geothermal. Climate resilience for us means recognizing that we cannot only rely solely on fossil fuel for energy generation. That's why our Sustainable Island State Agenda focuses heavily on energy transition and finding the right renewable energy mix for St. Kitts and Nevis. I'll allow the Minister of Energy to speak to what that mix looks like for us, for sustainability, and of course for cost effectiveness for our people. And if you don't mind just repeating the second question that you asked.
My second question was, how is the administration working with local communities to ensure climate actions plans are effective and sustainable?
Right, and thank you so much for that question. The Ministries of Sustainable Development and Environment took on a very specific mandate when we took office, the Labour administration took office in 2022, and that was to make climate action and energy resilience part of our regular day-to-day lives. It didn't connect with people, and I'm not even sure it's fully connecting, but we continue the work. And it's because we don't see the environment and climate as sexy unless there's a hurricane or unless the price of, as you said, gas goes up. And then we're like, what's happening here? And so our work has been with our communities. Most recently, we partnered with the United Nations Global Center for Climate Mobility to bring project funding to community groups. We have one community group in Nevis and 3 community groups here in St. Kitts and Nevis that were able to access up to $80,000 in funds per group. I don't think that has ever been done. No, not so much money has ever been brought directly to community groups to engage in their own community-led innovative projects for climate resilience. And we continue this by ensuring that not just climate resilience, but environmental protection and conservation becomes part of our regular conversation. We're doing it with our Environment for Everyone campaign, which is about keeping St. Kitts and Nevis clean. We're in the schools almost every week. Just last 2 weeks ago, we hosted our annual youth forum, which was fully sponsored by the UNICEF. And that allowed us to bring together over 100 plus students to the Think It's Marriott to engage in climate conversations. And they did so through art, through music, through design. And it means every opportunity we get to bring the conversation to the schools, we do it. And this is part of our, what we call our NDC partnership, our nationally determined contributions. The Minister of Energy mentioned that. So on one level, we have to reduce our imports and reliance on fossil fuels. But on another level, we also have to engage with the most important stakeholders, being our young persons. So we have these ongoing conversations. In fact, we're supposed to be in the St. Paul's Primary School tomorrow, talking about climate and energy resilience. So I hope that answers your excellent questions.
All right, thank you very much. I think the minister would have spoken significantly on renewable energy already. Any other question?
clarification. If the letter to the bar owners indicate a 7th April deadline, but the indications are that they are not on Crown land, they are on private land. How does that work? Who makes the move then? If they're not on government land and you have a deadline, how can you make the move in that regard? Secondly, in regards to last year, there in the coming out of the Afro-Caribbean Investment Summit, there was a $40 million signing of an agreement to build a deep water port. What has really happened to that? And a couple of years ago, the Minister of Investment indicated that they were looking at issues in relation to the Chinese investments on St. Kitts in terms of the hotels, Pirates Nest, and now we are hearing that the Matters operation has closed down. What is the situation, and can you also give me an indication as what has happened to the Indigo Hotel, which was groundbreaking some years
So
ago?
let's get somebody else a chance. Right. So let me say from the onset, with respect to that, I think the AG can touch on the legal aspect with respect to the private land matter and how that actually works with respect. The part of the signing, the Honorable Samuel Duggins, I'll ask him to give a direct update on that because he was the one pursuing that, and I know he has an update on that as well. And so I would leave that for you to get the details with respect to the details to that matter specifically. So AG, and then the rooms, right?
Yes, with potential litigation, I don't want to answer that question in detail. I can say that there are certain rights of self-help that accrue to all landowners. And as the Honorable Minister of Tourism has indicated, the Tourism Authority has the right to regulate all prescribed areas, of which that is one. So if all of the plugs are pulled, then the operators cannot operate. But I don't want to foreshadow the potential of litigation because I saw some placards saying different things last week. And you have to be very cautious what you say in a public forum with the potential of litigation about the approach.
Mr. Bant, you asked so much questions. Will you ask exactly about the rooms? Pirates Nest, right, and Indigo. Right, so the ministry is currently undergoing a room stock audit. And a part of our, as a part of the process, we have met with potential developers, existing developers, and actual hotel hotel owners. As it relates to Indigo Hotel, we met with them and they're in the process of finalizing the early steps, which is the feasibility studies and all those things, to submit to the planning board. That was the last update we got from them, and that might have been late last year. We can follow up and see what's happening there, but they did present to us concept designs and all the other things. I think it's the feasibility studies and all the other things that they were awaiting to commence construction. Ramada Hotel as well, we've been in discussions with them. They're undergoing some strategic discussions as it relates to their operations, and we are waiting word from them. There are a number of other incomplete developments that the government is actually working with the developers to complete as well, and that should help with our audit as it relates to room stock. T-Loft has the potential of 350 rooms, thereabouts, and the development is about 80 to 90% complete. The Attorney General's chambers and our ministry is actually in contact with the owners and the developers. So things are happening. We can't disclose at a press conference, but just to assure you that the audit that is being on the undergoing audit by the Ministry of Tourism contemplates all those things.
Good morning. I'm Kyloni Johnson again, SKNS. Just a quick question. There's been much public discussion going on right now about the consideration to raise the age of sexual consent and marriage. Can you guys explain what triggered this consideration right now, and where exactly are we in this regard?
Thank you very much. This is being conducted by the Ministry of Social Development Youth. I'll ask Minister Aislinn Phillip to answer that question.
Good morning. Thank you very much for the question. As PM would have mentioned, the Ministry of Social Development and Gender Affairs is currently undergoing a series of public consultations and engagement to get feedback and response from the public around the pursuit to consider raising the age of sexual consent and marriage. And this is in line with the ministry's mandate around child protection and expanding child protections to make sure that we are doing what we have signed on to do in various conventions, as well as making sure that we make a more robust child justice system. And so the ministry partnered with the Youth Parliament Association to offer a series of different ways of engaging with the public. And I would take the opportunity at this time to extend an invitation to a town hall meeting that the ministry is hosting tomorrow at the Solid Waste Conference Room at Taylor's Range, where we'll be soliciting feedback from the public. There will be a panel of technocrats, representatives from legal, probation and child protection services, and I believe they told me health as well, to be able to share justifications as to why this is a consideration at this time and why we're looking to move forward with making amendments and changes. It's also an opportunity for the ministry to be able to engage the public with other related issues and matters concerning child justice and child protections and child rights across the Federation. And so we're really encouraging persons to participate because the feedback is being noted, particularly as we look to improve our systems for child protection and child justice across the board. Thank you. I hope that answers your question.
Thank you very much. I think Honorable Minister Dr. Clark, you wanted to add something? No, and any other matter? Uh-huh.
Yes, Prime Minister, reading my mind. Thank you. So I also need to mention that today happens to be Zero Waste Day for globally. And the Ministry of Environment, Ministry of Sustainable Development, Environment, Italy, is celebrating with the rest of the world, in particular with our host agency, the United Nations Environmental Program, Zero Waste Day. And it's really a global observance that reminds us that waste is an unavoidable byproduct of human existence. And each year we observe this approach to addressing various kinds of waste and waste sources. Last year's theme focused on the fashion industry and the effects of increasing clothing and textile waste on the environment. This year, the focus is on food waste, and I'm sure many of us have heard our elders warn that willful waste make woeful want. This thing captures the spirit of this year's International Day of Zero Waste. And two quick facts that I need to share with us as it relates to our environmental activity. Food waste alone accounts for up to 14% of global methane emissions. And if you know chemicals, this is one of the deadliest greenhouse gases that cause an increase in Earth's temperature. And 8 to 10% of global greenhouse gas emissions are generated by food loss and waste. We all have a role to play in minimizing food waste, especially in our consumption habits. Zero Waste Day encourages us to buy only what we need and to cook and store our food properly, to share our excess with those who are in need, and start exploring sustainable backyard-based disposal options such as composting. We recognize that The Ministry of Environment cannot champion these messages alone. And so this year we partnered with, of course, Solid Waste Management Corporation and the Ministry of Agriculture to deliver a very simple video message on food waste that I'd like us to share right now. Thank you so much.
Very much. That was very, very informative and interactive, of course. Thank you, Minister. Go ahead.
I just have one final question, and that has to do with the announcement you made during the CARICOM summit of the name change from Citizen Security to the National Secretariat for Human Security and Wellbeing. That name change alone suggests a significant shift in the purpose of that particular secretariat. If you can share a little bit about it at the ministerial level, because we've been hearing from the new program director and the coordinator quite a bit in the media of recent times. But if you can share at your level the vision for the newly formed National Secretariat for Human Security and Wellbeing, and I don't know if maybe the minister on the lower end, Senator Phillip, can provide any information, as I believe she's the co-chair of the task force with respect to any upcoming activities that might be there. The last 2 years, there was Beyond the 90 Days, there was the 90-day campaign. Is anything happening in 2025?
Yes. Thank you very, very much for that. We have shifted from citizen security alone to human security and well-being. Human security expands beyond just citizens alone. It means that this secretariat is dedicated to the security of all who are on St. Kitts and Nevis, because you might have visitors who are not citizens. You might have residents who are not citizens. And so we want to make sure that all people in St. Kitts and Nevis are captured under the secretariat. Once you're in St. Kitts and Nevis, your security is also part of our responsibility as well. And so it is more inclusive in saying human security. In the other aspect is well-being. So it's not just not having violence and crime. We have to go just beyond, we have to go beyond that now. It is about the well-being of people. Crime has come down significantly. Violent acts have come down significantly. But we want to know, how are you doing? And we want to make sure also that we are putting things in place specifically that would enhance your well-being as a member of this country or this society. That is why we have termed it now the Secretariat for Human Security and Well-being. So it's gone beyond just citizen security, but citizen security is encapsulated in that new terminology. And so we have now established the Secretariat in terms of having a building, having an office, now have a director, coordinator, and staff. We have now linked directly with the UNDP, the United Nations, who are helping significantly. Also, we are linking with CARICOM at the broader sense so that they can help us to build out this. And this is all dealing with the issue of crime and violence, not just from a law enforcement perspective or a judicial perspective. We know that that alone cannot resolve the issues of crime and violence in any country. As a matter of fact, those are not the fundamental ways to prevent crime and violence. That it's very important. That is why we have invested heavily in police, invested heavily in the military and our security apparatus. However, we are looking at the prevention end. So that is why we said to look at crime and violence from a public health perspective, where we have now gone deep into how do we prevent crime and violence? How can we be proactive to get there before it happens? And therefore, that is part of the philosophy that is driving this as well. I'll turn it over to Minister Iselin Phillip because she has been very much involved in this and is co-chairing with me the task force that deals with, or rather the secretariat that deals with the issue of human security and well-being. Minister?
Thank you, PM. Thank you for the question, Ms. Brandon. So to echo the sentiments of the PM, understanding the name change, you asked the question about if the mandate and operations essentially changed, but they have not, because ultimately what the National Secretariat for Human Security and Wellbeing is doing is really applying the public health approach to crime and violence reduction, which is a systematic and ongoing process. As the Prime Minister always says, it's not just necessarily about reducing the gun crime, which we have done clearly for an extended period of time, and we intend to continue with the partnership of national security being embedded into the approach. But of course, since we're taking a preventative approach, the Secretariat was launched always with the idea of all of society approach, and it is the all of society approach that we continue to take. The Advisory Council for Human Security continues to meet very regularly. We continue to engage with community groups. Mr. Richards, as you would have known, mentioned, has been out doing engagements in the public media, as well as just with groups coming and engaging, so people understand exactly what the data is telling us. They understand what the preventative approach is and what is being called for, because it's still an all of society requirement. It's still an all of society approach if we really want to sustain peace and security in the Federation in the long term, particularly in the way of looking at it from a holistic well-being standpoint. In terms of what we are planning and where we're going next, based on the data that we've collected, and this is based on surveys, local surveys that go out. I know the last survey that went out was directly to parents. There were engagements with parent-teachers associations in the various schools. And that data is essentially telling us, it indicated to us, there is a period in the year, which is usually during the summer months, where young people have increased vulnerability of being recruited into gangs or being idle and being engaged in more nefarious activities. And that period is during the summer months, ideally starting really from end of April down to September. And that's usually the time when students go into exams, go into summer, there's no more formal schooling. And so that is the period with which the Secretariat for Human Security is seeking to do a more coordinated approach with the community to see how we can have a summer of intervention. Just like we would have had our day of interruption when we entered into the schools, we are now working towards coordinating a summer of intervention where we're looking to engage local community groups, organizations, those who typically plan events and activities and camps during the summer months. We want to take a very much more coordinated approach, an intentional approach to coordinate so that parents have options, so that they know where the options are, so that we can have our young people engaged and do it in a more coordinated way where we're able to offer opportunities for conflict resolution skill building, targeted approaches for mental health management, just to be incorporated into activities that we already know are doing. We want to be able to scale up and expand these opportunities, but the only way we can do that is with the community buy-in and community support. And so the work of the Secretariat continues to be getting connected with the community, making sure that we have commitments from church, community, sports, all of the different groups and associations, so that they know that the work that they naturally already aspire to do with hosting programs and workshops and camps for children and young people, that we want them to do it in a way that is intentional, understanding that their work directly impacts the whole in terms of what we're really trying to do by reducing crime and violence from a public health perspective, for a long-term solution. And so I encourage the public to stay alert and stay informed. We will be making a round of public communications around what we're doing, and work continues with the establishment of the Secretariat and staff to be able to make outreach. We're really looking to build a registry of community groups and summer activities so that our parents and young people can own their summer in a very positive and engaging way to reduce any vulnerability into crime and violence. Thank you for the question.
Thank you very much. AJ, you wanted to add something else? No, I was told you wanted to. Do you?
Oh, yes, PM.
Okay,
Sorry.
good.
You're reading my mind. I didn't even know. I just want to take this opportunity to invite the general public to visit the ministry's new website at legal.gov.kn. Now, this platform has been designed to make the work of the Attorney General's Office and Ministry of Justice and Legal Affairs more accessible to the people of St. Kitts and Nevis. It includes, among other things, our half-year reports, which provide a clear account of the activities, progress, and priorities of the AGO and the ministry. We encourage citizens, stakeholders, and members of the public to visit the website and stay informed, as we'll continue to use this forum to keep the country updated on ongoing work of the ministry. And Prime Minister, yes, on the screen is a QR code which takes you to the ministry website, legal.gov.kn, where you can access our second half report. So I don't have to talk about all the activities here. Everyone can go and take a read for themselves in their own time. And Prime Minister, if you'd allow me, I want to say something about something that St. Kitts Kittitians and Divisions should be very proud of. In November 2025, St. Kitts and Nevis was awarded the 2025 Brimalt Award for Best Regional Money Laundering and Terrorist Financing Case at the 61st plenary session of the Caribbean Financial Action Task Force in Bridgetown, Barbados. This important recognition reflects the strength of interagency cooperation within our federation, including the Financial Intelligence Unit, the White Collar Crime Unit, the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions, Customs, Immigration, Financial Institutions, and international partners. And I want to extend a special commendation to Inspector Jerry Watt, head of the White Collar Crime Unit, and Ms. L'Oreal Wilson, Director of the FIU, for their outstanding contribution to this achievement. Prime Minister, we go to Parliament a lot and we pass a lot of laws in relation to the Financial Action Task Force, and it is bearing fruit because our people are the stars in the region, and all Kittitians and Divisions should be proud that we are leading in relation to AML and CFT. Thank you very much.
Senior Minister, go ahead. Yes.
Thank you. I just wanted to make a very, very brief statement to introduce the new document that has been produced by the Ministry of Economic Development and Investment, and that is the National Development Planning Framework of St. Kitts and Nevis, taking us from the year 2023 to 2037. That is shaping the next 15 years with regard to our basically development strategy and policy. Of course, we've heard quite a bit of this. This has been mentioned before on numerous occasions. In fact, it has been to some extent popularized with the use of the Sustainable Island State agenda, that CISA, that we've heard quite a bit about. But the planning framework really encapsulates the overall general development policy that we would pursue in our development for the next 15 years, starting, of course, from 2023 to 2037. So I just want to make this available to the public so that one can go and have a read. As I said, it is referred to as the National Development Planning Framework of St. Kitts and Nevis, 2023 to 2037. And that is giving us an abridged version of the development over the next 15 years. I also, very briefly, very quickly, wanted to commend and highlight a number of activities which have been pursued by the Ministry of International Trade, Industry, Commerce, etc., and to commend and applaud the St. Kitts and Nevis Bureau of Standards for achieving its ISO 9001 certification. And this again is demonstrating the international recognition that is being accorded to our lab in terms of its quality management system. This, of course, leads us to, again, applaud the activities which are being pursued by the department in terms of air quality department. And we're now having requests from regional institutions to conduct air quality tests on account of its accreditation and the standard of work that has been carried out in this regard by our internationally recognized lab. Also, with regard to the Department of International Trade, I did mention earlier that there was last week a group that visited where we were looking forward how we can improve St. Kitts and Nevis's response to the economic development program that we are pursuing with the European Union and, of course, the United Kingdom. And also to indicate that a number of proposals have been put forward as to how we can best, best achieve some of what the EPAs are offering and how we can apply our own selves to be the beneficiaries of some of these areas that are being pursued. Finally, in the area of consumer affairs department, just to again applaud the members of staff of the department for a successful holding of the week of consumer affairs activities. We would have had the benefit, of course, for the launching of the St. Kitts Nevis Smart Shopper app that was referred to by the Prime Minister earlier in our discussions. Again, as part of our contribution towards controlling the cost of living to make available very updated information technology that is available to us and to the general public, and for our consumers to be able to compare prices, for them to submit complaints to the Bureau digitally, and to stay informed as to what is happening with regard to the availability to consumers, and of course for consumers to know their rights. We would want to make sure that the SKN Smart Shopper app is used by our people, not only parents, but our children, who to a large extent can advise the parents accordingly with regard to consumption of goods. Thank you.
Very comprehensive. Thank you very much, Minister, Senior Minister. I want to say, as I wrap up, that if you look at the achievements of any of the members of cabinet, one would ask if so much has been done in such a short time. let's just be honest about it. As I start right here from the Deputy Prime Minister, look at the tremendous work he's doing at the primary school in Molyneux. That is called which one? Joshua Obadiah. Have you all seen the video of that school? That is more than a school, that's a campus. It's a modern school, significant investments. In the short period of time, he has delivered that. He's delivering the Bastia High School in that short period of time. Scholarship for teachers. I mean, they can say all of this, but let me boast a little bit about their work. I mean, as far as Africa, making college education free, helping reinstituting the one-to-one laptop program and beyond. Significant investment in Keon High School that was lacking for so long. Smart classrooms at Siwit, converting Tibet, finally delivering Tibet. I mean, the list goes on and on. Scholarships to Germany. I mean, when you look at the tremendous achievement, one has to be at. And the minister with responsibility, senior minister, just gave a comprehensive overview of what he's doing. When you go to the minister responsibility for infrastructure, water, and electricity, can you imagine he is now putting forward an RFP for a 50 megawatt solar plant? Solarize, where finally people can install solar systems and have a relationship with Skelec so that they can build credit to cut the cost of living in just a short time. Look at the water infrastructure that he has brought. A desalination plant, 2 million gallons in East Bastia. New drilling in Keon. Tank in Upper Keon. I was saying all the time that the tank is being built. Minister, I did not realize that the tank had reached so far. And then you're drilling around the country. I think you're in Saddlers now. I mean, this is a tremendous amount of work in such a short time. If we are honest with ourselves, we will give the ministers their credit. Over $80 million of investments in roads, water. And then if you go to the Minister of Tourism, I mean, it goes without saying, look at how tourism has bounced back. I just checked the numbers here, and already we have over 5% increase from the same period last year. Maybe the minister has not realized, but I tracked the numbers. Why do you think those people are coming in by their thousands? It is because the minister is going out there, making the contact and bringing them back. When you have thousands more of visitors, what do you think that translates into? More hotel occupancy. As she was saying, look at how the hotel occupancy has been in this season. That means more jobs. More taxi drivers getting jobs. The people in the hotel industry who are directly and indirectly benefiting more money. So it's jobs, more money in people's pockets. And the numbers speak for themselves. I mean, look at that. And pursuing, of course, increasing the room stock. And can you imagine you have people like Wally Wilkin trying to disparage that? They call his name because he's trying to pull down St. Kitts and Nevis as if there's nothing good happening here. When people come here, they can't believe. And if you go down, and there's Minister Dr. Clark, I asked her the other day what is happening at the landfill at Connery. New system, new baler system to package the plastics and so forth to get them overseas, part of the circular economy. You see the massive cleanups that are taking place throughout the country. And at this point, I want to encourage our people to not litter. Just cut the littering, keep our country clean, the illegal dumping. We are going to take that very seriously. And I want to thank the citizen who recently, he's from Connery, they call him Bossy, who really called out some people who were illegally dumping. This is somebody who in that moment put country above self. We need to cut that out. And so I want to thank the minister for really leading on the strategy for sustainable development and building out the sustainable island state, the strategy that we are following. And so such a tremendous amount of work in such a short time. And if you go down to Minister Iselin, who is working in social development and advancing legislative changes that are impacting people's life, and she's the co-chair for the Citizen Secretariat, Citizen Security Secretariat, which is now called the Secretariat for Human Security and Well-being. Tremendous amount of work with tremendous impact. And the Attorney General, of course, will have us very, very busy. Busy as Attorney General, making sure that we stay modern and current with respect to our laws here in St. Kitts and Nevis. And Minister Samuel Duggins, who was in Abuja with me, Minister of Agriculture, and one of the things that he recently delivered was insurance for farmers, never done before. So if a hurricane were to hit and destroy their endeavors, they can claim and they don't have to pay 1 cent. The government has paid all of the premium of 100% on behalf of all of the farmers in St. Kitts and Nevis. And so you hear, some people out there trying to disparage what he's doing. That has never been delivered before. He's delivering the greenhouse villages. I saw a video with that. People are shocked as to the extent of the implementation of that project. He has so much chicks up in Barefoot. He's sending chicks to Center Stations and other countries. Eggs. I was told we are producing so much eggs in St. Kitts and Nevis. That's tremendous. We are not perfect and we'll never be perfect. And I do not claim that we are perfect. But our record speaks for itself. Our record is delivering for the people of St. Kitts and Nevis. All these opportunities are creating jobs after jobs upon jobs. And we want to create more jobs. That is why we are seeking more investments in St. Kitts and Nevis. The last figure I got from Social Security, there were about around 30,000 people paying Social Security. I think that was the highest number ever. Paying Social Security, not registered, paying Social Security. For you to pay Social Security, it means you have to be employed. That's tremendous. And that must be highlighted. So we want to create jobs and jobs. The Molyneux School building, jobs. Bastia High School, jobs. Fort Thomas Hotel, where the National Museum is going to go, with an international aspect to it, jobs. Housing, jobs. And the 9th of April is the job fair for the Bastia High School. So encourage at Solid Waste. So people who are interested in working, construction workers and others, skilled workers, I encourage you to go to the Solid Waste where the job fair for the Bastia High School will be kept. So I want us to take up those jobs. Sometimes I get calls and they're saying, we can't find certain technicians in St. Kitts and Nevis. When the solar farm started, jobs scandal. The hospital, the money is at Central Bank. We are doing what you call value engineering because we want to get it right. You can't get a hospital wrong. A hospital is one of the most, I would say, sophisticated buildings you can build. And therefore, you must get it right. And that is going to produce hundreds of jobs and advance our healthcare system here in St. Kitts and Nevis. We want to provide jobs. And the last one I'll mention, the Youth Economic Empowerment Bureau, which is going to be launched. That bureau is going to be dedicated to our young people, but it will not turn back anybody. To equip them and show them the pathways of how they can empower themselves through entrepreneurship and innovation. These things are critically important. Can I say one last thing with respect to the young people? The Robotics Association is going to sign within the next 2 weeks a multi-million-dollar contract to implement our electronic health record system at the hospital. These are young people. who are going to be involved in a multi-million-dollar contract. We did not have to bring in a company from overseas because when we brought in PAHO to evaluate the different electronic health record system, they said the robotic system, the system created by the Robotics Association was the best. So this wasn't a handout. And now that is going to translate into a contract worth millions of dollars. And let the young people make some money. Saying to them that you are young, but if you are talented, you can have the opportunity to earn and earn well. And so I'm very, very proud of the young people who would be signing that multi-million-dollar contract to implement in St. Kitts and Nevis once and for all our electronic health record system. All those are opportunities, jobs and opportunities. And so we'll continue to work on that. And so I finally want to say to our people of St. Kitts and Nevis, is be mindful of those who want to pull down this country on the altar of politics, looking for something to say negative daily. They wake up in the morning and they feel good unless this is something negative. Be mindful of them. They are bad for your mental health. That negativity that they spew every day, Wally Wilkin and his gang. I wonder if you're working at Housewords when he posting all these negative things all the time. He really working? Every day something negative. And when they can't get, they make it up. Like the police matter, they make it up. Going to Abuja, they say taxpayers' money. They make it up. They know the truth, but they still want to lie to, in a sense, create some false negative about this beautiful Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. Crime is down. Violence is down. We have the highest minimum wage, highest record number of people working, tourism flourishing, water on its way, energy, opportunities for young people. When I travel, man, I don't want just travel with high officials and the well-connected. I want to take ordinary people. You should see the ordinary people who went on the trip to Abuja. Ordinary people. A spectrum from across St. Kitts and Nevis. Vaughan Anslin was able to display his art in Nigeria. Can you imagine that? A country of 250 plus million people, where else would he get that opportunity except we facilitate that for such a talented man from the island of Nevis? And so I want to say that St. Kitts and Nevis, we don't claim to be perfect. We are human beings and we have our faults and our shortcomings. But I want to say that we will continue to work on behalf of the people of St. Kitts and Nevis. And if anybody were to judge objectively, this administration continues to deliver for the benefit of all of our people. Thank you very much for joining us. Good afternoon, and may God bless all of us. Thank you.
The Joshua Obadiah Williams Primary School has for long stood as a cornerstone of education and community life in Molyneux Village. Originally constructed in 1948, the school has served as a place of learning, growth, and opportunity for countless students who have passed through its classrooms. However, on March 18, 2022, tragedy struck. A devastating fire tore through the school, causing extensive damage to both its structure and its contents. 6 classrooms, including those serving kindergarten through grade 5, were destroyed, directly impacting nearly 80% of the student population. What remained was not a functioning school, but a partially damaged shell, a painful reminder of what had been lost. Yet, even in the face of this setback, education did not stop. Students and teachers pressed on, relocating to temporary facilities and continuing the work of learning under less than ideal conditions. It was a powerful demonstration of resilience, one that would ultimately shape the vision for what this school would become. In the immediate aftermath of the fire, the intention was clear: to move quickly and restore the school. However, as consultations began with key stakeholders, including the Ministry of Education, the Public Works Department, school leadership, and the wider community, a different vision began to emerge. Rather than simply rebuilding what was lost, a collective decision was made to do more, to take this moment as an opportunity to reimagine the school entirely. What followed was a shift from restoration to transformation. The goal became not just to replace classrooms, but to deliver a modern, purpose-built educational facility, one that reflects the evolving needs of students, teachers, and the wider community. This approach ensured that the new Joshua Obadiah Williams Primary School would not just recover from tragedy, but rise stronger, more functional, and more future-ready. The transformation of this school is perhaps best understood through its scale. The original facility occupied approximately 8,415 square feet. The new development expands that footprint dramatically to 25,600 square feet, representing a 68% increase in size. This expansion is beyond space. It is about capability. It allows for the introduction of modern educational facilities, improved learning environments, and enhanced support systems that were previously unavailable. Construction officially began in June 2025, with the project carefully structured into 3 main components: Building A, Building B, and Building C, each designed to serve a specific function within the overall campus. Together, these structures form a cohesive, modern school environment that supports both academic excellence and student well-being. At the heart of this redevelopment is a complete transformation of the learning experience. Previously, classrooms were divided by wooden partitions, allowing sound to travel freely between spaces, often disrupting teaching and learning. Today, those limitations have been replaced with fully constructed, sound-proof classrooms, each designed to support focused, uninterrupted instruction. Classroom sizes have also increased significantly, now measuring approximately 26 by 20 feet, providing more space for both students and teachers. Beyond classrooms, the school now includes a wide range of dedicated facilities that elevate the standard of education being delivered. These include a fully equipped computer lab, modern math and science laboratories, a reading intervention room, and a counseling center, and an auditorium, all designed to support diverse learning needs. Students will also benefit from improved sanitation facilities, a dedicated sick bay, and spaces that promote both comfort and well-being through the school day. Equally important is the investment being made in the educators who serve at the school. The new design includes a fully functional staff room, administrative offices, and vice principal's office, a secretary's workspace, creating a professional environment that supports effective school management and staff collaboration. This represents a significant shift from the previous layout, where space constraints limited the functionality of administrative and staff areas. By providing educators with the resources and environment they need, the school is better positioned to deliver high-quality education to its students. The new Joshua Obadiah Williams Primary School has also been designed with safety and resilience at its core. To ensure the past does not repeat itself, modern fire safety systems, including sprinklers and fire alarms, have been incorporated throughout the facility, and structural elements have been reinforced using fire-resistant materials. Additional features such as CCTV infrastructure, intercom systems, upgraded electrical systems, and provisions for backup power ensures that the school is both secure and operational under a wide range of conditions. Accessibility has also been prioritized, with facilities designed to accommodate students with physical challenges, ensuring that the school is inclusive and welcoming to all. Beyond academics, the new school introduces meaningful improvements to the everyday experience of students. Covered walkways ensure that children can move between buildings without exposure to the elements, Wider corridors and open spaces provide greater comfort and ease of movement throughout the campus. Leisure areas and lookout points have also been incorporated, offering students spaces to relax, interact, and enjoy their surroundings. These enhancements may seem simple, but they play a vital role in creating a positive, supportive environment where students can thrive. One of the most transformative elements of this redevelopment is its role beyond education. With the addition of a modern auditorium and expanded facilities, the school is being positioned not just as a place of learning, but as a central hub for the Molyneux community. Historically, the school has served as a gathering place for meetings and events. The new design builds on that legacy, providing a space that can host community activities, engagements, and functions, strengthening the bond between the school and the people it serves. In this way, the investment extends far beyond students alone. It becomes an investment in the entire community. The construction of the new school has also delivered tangible economic benefits. At peak periods, approximately 50 workers have been employed on the site, with many drawn from the surrounding community. This has provided income, skill development, and opportunities for local participation in a major national project. Additionally, the involvement of multiple contractors from this very community has contributed to broader economic activity, reinforcing the project's role as both an educational and economic investment. Today, the Joshua Obadiah Williams Primary School redevelopment stands at approximately 80% completion. Significant progress has been made across all three buildings, with some areas nearing final finishing stages, while initial projections aimed for completion by the start of the academic year. Unforeseen structural challenges have adjusted the timeline. During the early stages of the construction, teams encountered several unforeseen issues hidden beneath the site, including outdated foundations, undocumented structures, deteriorated septic systems, and walls lacking proper reinforcement. In some cases, walls that appeared structurally sound were found to contain no steel support, requiring demolition and rebuilding to meet modern safety standards. These discoveries required extensive remedial work, adding several months to the project timeline. But addressing these structural matters were critical in ensuring that the new school would be safe, durable, and built to last. This commitment to doing the work properly, rather than quickly, underscores the government's focus on quality, safety, and long-term value. As such, the project is now expected to be completed before the end of 2026, with students anticipated to transition into this new facility in the following school term. In the very near future, over 100 students will return to this site. Reconstruction of the Joshua Obadiah Williams Primary School represents opportunity. It represents progress, and it represents a commitment to investing in people, beginning with the youngest members of our society. The Joshua Obadiah Williams Primary School is not just being rebuilt, it is being redefined. And in doing so, it stands as a powerful symbol of what is possible when the nation chooses to invest in its future.